people, thanks for joining me for another edition of this old Gibson. I'm Scott, and we're going to be going down memory lane today, working on this old Kalamazoo Gibson. It has a ton of sentimental value. It was bought in the early 40s, and it was passed down through the generations. It's been in the same family ever since it was brand new. And so we're going to try to do this guitar right after many years of repair work that's, questionable in my opinion. But we do the best we can with what we got, and we want to do stuff that's reversible, because 50 years from now, the stuff I do might be looked at as, subpar. Anyways, we'll do what we can. Let's take a look.
Now look at this string action here. We've got 9/64 action on the bass E string and 8/64 on the treble E string, but I think we'll be okay. I put this straight edge here to check the neck relief, and I've only got 4/1000 of an inch. So we got a nice straight neck. Could probably use a neck reset, but we also have a really tall saddle. So let's take a look at the bridge. It's kind of leaning forward. It's got these 2 extra fasteners on it, which shouldn't be there. And we've got plenty of room to lower this saddle. Well, first we'll be taking the bridge off so we can try to correct this crack. You can see there was some water-based glue added into it that's kind of just sitting there in the middle of the crack. I told him I'd also take a look at this deep gouge, a big old dent. And here's that tall saddle, got plenty of room to bring that action down by lowering that. But first we got to get the bridge off. These 40s L-00s have some really cool looking pick guards, don't they? Celluloid. He also wanted me to see if I could polish off this back. He tried and tried to clean it, but he failed. So I think I might take it down to the guitar buffer and see if I can get it cleaned up.
He thought it sounded great. I don't think it sounds that good. I know it's going to sound better when we're done with it. Another thing is it needs new tuners. These aren't, these are replacement cheapos, and it deserves better than that. But yeah, just to give you an idea what it sounds like now, there's a G chord, and then we'll compare it to what it sounds like when we're finished. Well, this is a little perplexing. I've got these really strong magnets. These are rubber-coated magnets, and there is no steel reinforcement truss rod of any sort going on here. And I've never seen a Gibson without neck reinforcement, truss rod, what have you. Just reaching in and getting these screws out. There's actually 4 screws. There's screws underneath these pearl dots also. So I don't know that they're the same size nut, but I'm gonna have to steam these off. For the 2 bolts I just took off, these are the ones that are out by the wings, and they got really lucky when they installed these because they missed the X-brace by an eyelash. And it was so close on the treble side to the X-brace that the nut wouldn't even seat down up against the soundboard, so they put in this little rubber washer to kind of give it something to lock onto. Wow. So I just got the 250 watt heat lamp out of the way. It's been on here for 10 minutes. Now I'll try to lift this saddle out. These are glued in, so sometimes it takes 15-20 minutes of heating with a 250 watter before it comes loose.
250. So the saddle came out. Look at that big sucker. Hot hide glue was holding it in. And then there were two little washers under those bolts. And I had to use this very small 1/4 inch wrench and socket. I'll take a wet towel and this soldering tip. This is the one they give you for removing the frets, warming up frets. Couldn't get the pearl dots out, so I just thought I'd warm it up and see if I could just pull the screws out with it. Yep. Oh! Always fun. Always fun. Now I got these special pliers where I can grab a hold of the screw and just give it a wiggle and a push. And so you can pop that dot out. Yes, that worked. I just had to steady my hand by setting it on the bench and just kind of working it like that. So both dots may be reusable. So right here I just clamped it down to this bench to kind of keep it flat, keep it from flying away. This book really answers every question that I had about this guitar. Right here it shows, right here, some 1943 versions are without truss rods, and they feature a white silkscreen logo on the peg head. Only a few featured the gold banner decal. So that's it. It's a 43 L-00. Kind of like this one. Okay, here we are. It's a day later and I'm gluing up the transverse brace. Actually, it already was glued. This is the next day. So I glued it with some watered down fish glue because I had a little bit of a time squeezing it in there along the fretboard. And now it's time to take off these old clamps. I've got a piece of Lexan spanning across it. Okay, another day later, and I'm removing the clamps from having to glue the back brace, the first back brace, the first one towards the upper bow. And I did that by putting the glue in and then placing these jacks inside through the sound hole and then clamping it from the outside. So I used a number of jacks. This one's called like a scissor jack or I think they call it a scientific platform jack of some kind. It's that big black one. But I went across town last week and picked up these axe jacks from Music City Bridge. They're really cool because you set them inside the guitar, you push the button, and a spring pops the upper part of the jack up. You just push, boing, in the spring, and then when you're ready you turn this thumb wheel at the bottom and it expands even further. So that's going to help me out a lot when I'm going to glue back brace number 2, 3, and 4 because they're all loose. Okay, here's back brace number 2. This is a dry run. I got the StewMac scissor jack, which will set you back about $150, and one of the Music City axe jacks, which will cost you $50. I've got some cheaper jacks too, they just take a little while. But before I put in the glue, I'm going to take this little tip from Dan Earlywine and take some blue painter's tape, fold over the ends so I have something to grab onto when I'm ready to take it back out through the sound hole. I'm going to wrap the tape around this short length of like a 5/8 wood dowel It's a good thing to kind of de-stick the tape on a t-shirt first too. We'll vacuum out the debris so you don't end up pushing it down underneath the brace. Here's my fish glue and a 3/1000 of an inch feeler gauge right here. That way I can kind of get it in there under the brace, in between the brace and the back. I would advise to use the tape on either side of the jack, because look at the mess I made. Now I have to clean this all up. Just do as I say, not as I do. Don't make a big wet mess like I did. Lesson learned. So, X jack. Pop it into place, tighten it, and then we put in the scissor jack, tighten it. We take our 3 thou feeler gauge, make sure that we don't have that gap anymore in between the back and the brace. And here's another one. I don't need to reef down on it like a red-headed step jack. Just, these guitars are fragile. But that's some good squeeze out right there. Next, I will try to dig out this glue. I take the 250-watt heat lamp and warm up the soundboard. I also take an X-Acto blade and hold it right up against the bulb to get the blade nice and hot. Then I jam it down in the crack and slowly pull up that glue. As it heats the glue, it'll soften it and it allows it to be pulled out. Unfortunately, there's a few wood fibers that come out with it, but if I have any chance of getting this top to lay flat again, it's going to be because I can get rid of this carpenter's glue and re-glue it with some hot hide glue. So after digging out some of that rubbery wood glue from the crack, I moistened the inside with some wet paper towels, and then I clamped it. I heated it with the heat lamp up here over the top, and heated it, got it real moist and real hot, and I put these clamps on it to try to flatten out the seam. The seam was coming together like this, and there was all that glue inside, and there's just no way of pressing it back down without trying to get some of that gooey, rubbery stuff out of there. Let's see how I did here. Oh yeah! Oh, that's much better. I'm happy about that. So next thing I'll do is I'll put the TJ Thompson belly reducer here. I don't have the one for Gibsons. I just have the one for Martins, which is a larger radius, a 40-foot radius. This Gibson has a 15-foot radius like this. So what I'll do is I'll clamp it real hard in the center, but I'll just kind of ease up a little bit when I tighten the two clamps on the outer edges. And I think what I'll do first, before I heat those up and put them and clamp them on, is I'm going to wet the bridge plate real good with some wet paper towels. And flip the guitar over like this. Paper towels in there, let it set for about 15 minutes. Get it soaked. Alright. So these are the belly reducers. This one's the bottom, this one's the top, and they're held together with magnets, and it matters which way they're oriented. If you have them this way, they're not going to have the same pull. So you have to make sure you keep them in the proper orientation. And then I think he says to warm them up to 170 degrees. So I got 180 degree water from the tea kettle in this mug, travel mug. I'll set them in there for a few seconds. And I'll wet the top of the guitar now. These are the clamps I'll be using. Let's flip the guitar back over and wet it. Now I know the inside's good and moist. Look at that paper towel
Now over here, and let's do a dry run with our clamps. It's pretty amazing what just a little bit of water and heat will do to wood. Problem is with this, if you're trying this, is to understand if you let water sit on lacquer for more than a minute, you could have problems. These babies are really hot, so that's why I'm using gloves. The magnetic pull is going to hold them here while I get the clamps. I got a little water drippage right there. I'm going to clean that up. It's okay if you get one drop of water on the lacquer, but just wipe it up quickly. Okay. First clamp goes in. This is going to smash down that hump that's in the center. The belly. I don't know why they call it, I think we want to call this a bulge. The belly's the overall shape of the top. It's the belly. But this is the bulge. And I don't even know if I want to put these outer ones on. I might just use this one. Because I don't want to make this area a different shape than the rest of the guitar. I want it to have this nice smooth belly to it. Now I'm going to go 1 or 2 turns beyond finger pressure with this set of channel locks. Not whole turns. No, this is pretty tight already. I'm good. Oh, there was a drop of water over here on this. Just don't try to scrub it. If you do accidentally get water on an old instrument with a lacquer finish, just wipe it up and walk away for a day. Come back the next day and worry about it then. Because you start fiddling with it while it's wet, that's not good. So I left this clamped up overnight. I just took the clamp off, and I haven't even sanded this yet, but I'll show you. This bridge, it was kind of teeter-tottering before, and now it's just a perfect fit. I mean, you couldn't even fit an eyelash between the body and the bridge. It's just, I won't have to remove any wood from the bottom of this bridge, which is just perfect. I mean, not have to remove a single fiber of this wood is just incredible. I do need to plug these 2 holes, and but first we got to spline all these cracks, maybe put in some cleats on the inside, and of course some finish repair work. So let's get started.
Well guys, thanks for hanging out with me this week. I decided to split this repair into 2 episodes, and if you join me next week, you'll see that I completely changed course with I did not do any splining of the top. I decided to glue it back together with these TJ Thompson crack cleats and do some finish repairs to the top, spray some lacquer. It all took a few weeks, but I scheduled this video out ahead of time, and we'll also be gluing the bridge back onto the top, replacing the frets, polishing up the back, and gluing up the additional back braces, and filling in these other side cracks that are on either side of the tail block. It needed a lot of work. I'll also be making a new bone through saddle to replace that original super tall saddle, and I think we'll see a really great result. Hope to see you next week. We'll catch you later.